Hi everyone, it's me, and if you like my channel, please like and subscribe. There's a notifications bell down in the corner, so if you'd like to be notified as to when I go live, you hit that. If you read through the description, oh hi Blair. If you read through the descriptions, you will see ways that you can support me. I have the Amazon wish list back up, and of course, read through, figure out, it's pretty easy to tell. Most of them I'm starting to label like outreach and stuff, so getting better. Today, I'm going to talk about what seems to be a hot button topic. I'm talking about mental illness and the difference between mental illness and ideology. Okay, so ideology, what is it? Ideology is ideas. What are the ideas and beliefs that shape your life? Hi, Megan. When we look at ideology, we all have an ideology that we live by. And whether your idea and your system of beliefs is shaped by hate, shaped by love, shaped by happiness, shaped by despair, all of that is just an ideal. It's a set of beliefs and systems to which you live your life. Hi, Be Kind. Oh, that's okay, Blair. It's great to see you again, Be Kind. So these are, the set of ideas. So we need to understand that when we have a set of ideas, it can make us susceptible. And it can make us susceptible to things that we want to believe versus what are. And right now in the United States, we have an issue with mass murder. We are being indiscriminately shot at in shopping centers, schools, concerts, festivals, you name it. And the majority of these, I would say, I don't know if every single one, but I would say I know for a fact the majority of these are white supremacists and nationalists. Um, Blair, tell your sister to call your mom. So, the thing is when we look at these hate crimes, which they are, we need to be really careful when we correlate things that we don't think are right and things that we think are horrible, because they are horrifying, it is awful. But the issue is when we stop with our initial assessment of that's crazy. How could anyone be in their right mind and do something like that? We can't possibly wrap our heads around it. Radicalization targets people who are insecure, people who have ideas that make them susceptible to suggestions and ideologies that they will literally bypass all fact to believe in. So I just want to wrap that up, okay? When we look at hate crimes, when we look at mass shootings, when we look at all of these things, it comes right down to the system and ideals that they have and they shape their life by. This is very different than mental illness. And I'm going to go into that in a minute. Now, I am not saying, good morning, David. I am not saying that the shooters did not have a form of mental illness. But the thing with mental illness is that it is a range of disorders, each one with its own behavioral and life-changing things. And when it becomes an illness, and some of these behaviors are normal human behaviors, things that we all go through. But the issue is, here's when it becomes an illness. When it affects your life in a negative manner and makes you unable to do the things that you once did. So, It is the same as when someone would break their arm and we would say, for the time until it heals, which it is possible to have therapy and get through the illness. But we wouldn't tell somebody here, you know, we wouldn't say, oh, well, that's a physical injury. And we wouldn't classify physical injuries all in the same like we do with mental illness. Each mental illness is different. And here's where we're going to get into the physical aspects. We now, hi, Sylvan. We now have, just one second. David, ginger root hot tea to American honey will help with congestion. You can tell, huh? Yeah, I'm a little congested. It's okay though. Hi, Dr. Nina. I am having a good day. It really is. It's a little hot, but as you can tell, I have a new hair color and I am absolutely loving this fall color. I think I am going to overlay it a little bit with some red. But anyhow, back to the subject at hand. So, the thing is, you have to be able to look at, you can't, okay, you, just as you would not say lump cardiac patients in with oncology patients, and there are some that have co-occurring illnesses, just like in mental illness. I am a person who has several mental illnesses. I'm never going to commit mass murder. Not a thing. And none of my illnesses have that pathology. Oh, thank you, Sylvan. And here's how we know this. There are, for mental illness and different kinds, okay, we have a range. We've got, I will name just a few. We've got bipolar, we've got schizophrenia, we've got major depression. I'm just listing mental illnesses. I'm not listing all of mine. Generalized anxiety, oppositional defiant disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder. And here's the thing. Many of these, if you read the DSM, they look like traits that many of us would have on a normal basis. Those of us who like to clean a lot like to say we're OCD, but we're not. OCD has real and lasting and devastating effects on someone's life. A lot of us like to say, well, I'm depressed today. You might be sad that day, but let me tell you about depression. Depression causes, and it may be caused by, we're not sure whether it's causing or a cause of severe inflammation in the body. This is a physical effect of this mental illness. But it is not a physical effect to go around hating people and shooting them. Not a thing. Not a freaking thing. Yeah, exactly. Mental problems and physical problems are related. In mental illness, we see physical changes to the brain structure. So we know now. The thing is back in the gap, we didn't know any better. When we started first developing psychology, it was a shot in the dark. It was, we've noticed as a society that these set of behaviors are leading to bad effects in people's lives. And so we started studying it. We had people that wanted to study it. And throughout the ages, we've done some amazingly, you are a beautiful bliss. Thank you, Bliss. I do like this hair color though. I'm like really loving it. So, we used to have, we have this burgeoning field, right? And we don't have the technology to understand the changes in the body related to the changes in the brain because we can't see it at this juncture. So, hi Sheila, I love you so much. So we can't see at that juncture the changes. As we go throughout history, we start locking up people that we think, are hazards to society. And this is when we started like lobotomizing people for depression and other things. That ended badly, and it ended with mental hospitals being just horrific places of abuse and horrific places of death and disease. And part of the reason for this is there was a huge stigma about mental illness. We didn't understand it. As the ages progressed, we started to understand that, hey, a lot of times this comes from a trauma early or a trauma later. Yeah, the thing is, here's what I'm trying to tell people. There is a difference between, you need to get it diagnosed. If you feel that your behaviors, your thought patterns, everything else is endangering your life, you need to get diagnosed, because there are hundreds of illnesses that cause many different changes in the brain. We have dementia, we have Alzheimer's, we have PTSD, we have major depressive disorder, we have okay, bipolar, rapid cycling bipolar, major depressive disorder, and generalized anxiety, and complex PTSD. Yay. And 5 traumatic brain injuries. So, it's a struggle. It really is. But here's what's so disheartening is when you know for a fact that 46 million Americans, just Americans, and that's not globally, okay? Mental health is a problem globally. As our climate changes and as people's worlds are thrown into upheaval, and as these disasters come and come and come, that is a trauma. Losing everything you have is a trauma. And not only will it cause physical changes in your brain, it causes physical changes in your genetic structure, which is then passed down to generations. We need to start understanding social anxiety disorder. That's actually part of the generalized anxiety disorder. Um, and it's more a thing of like, also part of the PTSD, not letting anybody in my personal space. And part of that as well was amplified when I was homeless. It was very important in the lifestyle and the environment that I lived in to keep a healthy personal space, to keep myself safe, or I felt to keep myself safe. Um, Megan, I have a sunbox for SAD and it helps a bit, but if you use it too much, it'll get you buzzed. It's weird, right? Yeah, we can only do what we can do. Like, I'm medicated, and I have heard over, and you know what? When I was younger, I also said it, because at first they try you on different medications. Here's the kicker: when you find one that works, um, when you find one that works, it is literally helping your brain make the connections that it wasn't before, whether that be a release of a chemical to make it better, or tamping down of something to make it better. And we forget as well that a lot of times physical illnesses will also cause behavioral changes: brain tumors, cancer, diabetes. So I think that we just really need to be educated from a medical standpoint and not stigmatized, and to be really, really careful about blanket statements, because mass murder is not a mental illness problem. Do you know why I know that? Is because correlation is not causation. When you have 46 million people in your country struggling with mental illness, and less, less than 0.5% commit any kind of violent crime, there's an issue there. We need to start looking at other factors. And one of the things that I refuse to I just don't understand, Well, I do understand it. I understand. Okay. I hate saying I don't understand because I will look at stuff until I get it. So I can understand the human behavior. Even if I don't agree with it, even if I don't like it, I will understand human behavior and I will do my best. Oh, hi, Nicolette. Uh, so here's the thing. I think that what we do not want to happen is for it to be so easy for people who have a mental illness that they shouldn't have a weapon. But let me tell you something, most of the time, if they do and they have major depressive disorder or whatever, it will be used on themselves to commit suicide. Okay? You have a much higher rate if you have a gun in your home of dying of suicide. Just a fact. So there's that. What we need is regulations. At least, at least. Thank you, Nicolette. I appreciate that. What we need at least is to make sure that if you like, if you do have a psychiatric, like, okay, for example, I used to have a CX4, a lightweight M4, and a 22. I was into guns, or not guns. I was into shooting, and mainly it was a a thing that my ex-husband was into, and so I was trying to join along. Um, and here's the thing, you're also used by people who can't buy weapons to do so, and so they can use them. It's whatever. Um, Here, okay, hold on. Be kind. Here in Lebanon, people think that if you go to a psychologist, you're crazy, you're not normal. So people will react in a weird way. I'm afraid to tell my parents to go. They won't believe me. It is, and actually, it's like that around the world. And we're desperately, desperately trying to let people understand that when we talk about a mental health crisis, we are not talking in conjunction with a hate crisis or a crisis of nationalism, hate filled, hate mongering white supremacists. It is not the same thing. Absolutely not the same thing. And with treatment, you can live a full and wonderful life having an illness. It's the same thing for me having I have ankylosing spondylitis and AS, and I take Humira. I've got fibromyalgia, and those cause physical pain and issues, and I have to overcome it. But there's treatment. I take Humira. I'm lucky. But you know what I'm lucky about is that I can get Medicaid, because I'll be honest, it wouldn't be so great when I was on it, off of it. It destroys your body. So I just want to clear that up and really make people understand that what it is not the mental health crisis is a healthcare crisis. We are not treating people, we are not educating people. People do not know our brain structure and what it does for us. People don't understand that if you have a frontal lobe injury, which means, right here, that it leads to behavioral issues such as impulsiveness. It can lead Sorry, oh my. I am congested. I am so sorry. I think it's allergies. So that's kind of what I want to say. And we have to keep weapons away from people who have the behaviors like radicalization to kill many people. And really, honestly, even having owned an assault weapon, it's not necessary. Less than 20% of us even hunt anymore. I think we look at things from the background that we're from, such as like northwestern Montana, where I'm originally from. A lot of people do hunt there, but there's only like 2,000 people. So, of course, if I was in that area all the time, I would think everybody hunted. But that's not the case. It isn't. Um, So, it stands to reason that these things started happening when we started just saying guns for everyone. It's no, no, not everybody has the propensity, or the not everybody is a responsible gun owner. And I think the responsible gun owners need to understand this. And when I talk to many, many responsible gun owners, they say the same thing. They want the same thing, keep them out of the hands of people that will commit these atrocities. But the issue is not that they're mentally ill. The issue is not that they play violent video games, because by the way, I do too. And I've never done that. And everybody I know, okay, I don't know, I do know hundreds of people. But I mean, not well, because that, like, seriously, how many people do we know really well? But we just know, like, percentage wise, the people that play violent video games do not go do that. So that can't be. It might be a correlation. It's definitely not a causation. But we do know for a fact that every single one of these people was able to get assault weapons very easily with zero restrictions. So there's that. That's causation, people. That's causation. Um, so I just wanted to talk about that because, like, please, please, before you blanket term people with mental illness, find out, like, start learning about it. What are the different types? What does it do to people's lives? You know, you can't go wrong by trying to understand. And one of the things that I'm really working on in my life is not saying I don't understand. Because I don't understand doesn't mean, or I understand doesn't mean that I approve. I understand doesn't mean that I think this is the way things should be. I understand means that I can look at something and understand it for what it is, not my feelings or emotions about it. And so I have another message for people who are afraid that the government is going to come and take all your weapons to overcome you. They don't have to. They don't. They will poison your water. They will pollute your air. They will take everything from you so that you can't survive. And you're not, I promise you, going to load all your weapons into a shopping cart. And then how are you going to survive? No one, we have biological weapons. Climate change is breeding diseases faster than we can knock them out. No one has to take your weapons. There are so many other things to worry about out there. We literally have gotten past the point of guns and technology wise. So I'm just going to put that out there. Okay, I'm done ranting. I'm hurt. I'm upset. I'm feeling helpless about it. And so the only thing I can do, and especially as somebody who has been vulnerable most of my life, is to educate people. And so that's what I'm trying to do. So if you thought I was too aggressive or whatever, I feel that, I am, and I'm passionate about this. So I'm going to address comments right now. Okay. I feel stressed when I'm around people. I used to cry before going to something in the store, again, in the store alone. Um, be kind. That's a social anxiety disorder. And I know that culturally and sometimes societally, we are told that there is a stigma attached to getting help. But I can tell you, your quality of life will be better if you get help. And as a person who goes to therapy and takes medication, there are things that will work. They do work. It might take a minute to find them, and you're going to get really frustrated, and it's really annoying. But stick with it. It's worth healing. It's worth healing. Okay. Have I ever been to Los Angeles? No, I have not. I have been in California when I was a teenager. Um, and other than that, no, I was born in California, actually. I was born in Sonora. But I think they left like when I was 6 months old. But no, no, I've never been to Los Angeles. I would love to go at some point. That would be cool. But okay, I'm afraid of being alone with people. I cry and stress all the time before. Yeah, absolutely. Be kind. Get help. Like it's talk talk to someone who is trained. I don't know how to get that. Like, and there's another thing people will say, like, well, how can somebody help you if they've got problems of their own? Okay, I'm gonna put it to you this way. Your brain, your doctor for oncology could have cancer and they can still help you. It doesn't change anything. Professionals are trained and psychiatrists are trained in spotting these things and helping you identify and diagnose what your illness is so that you can have targeted therapy, because mental illness is not a blanket term. There are many, many different kinds, and there are many, many different treatments for each one. um Sylvan, agree. Hi, Tatum. Sylvan, heart to you. Jonah, hi. Ken Miss Stewart, I've had severe anxiety for years. The only time I feel comfortable is sleeping in my van. Yeah, and see, this is the thing. Um, it's very difficult to, if you don't have good access to healthcare, to get the treatment you need. And that is where, and that is when we're talking about the mental health crisis. It isn't about, whoa, the mentally ill. What it is it's talking about getting people healthcare so that they can get through these things. So you're not going and only feeling comfortable in a small space, so you can live your best life and 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 engage with society in a meaningful, fulfilling manner, because it's possible. It's possible. I didn't think it was possible to be where I am now from the brain injuries. And I'm not saying if I can do it, you can too. What I'm saying is we can all take steps. We all of us can try. That may be all we can do, but try. Just try. And the problem with some of these illnesses is it hits your ability to try. And my heart goes out to you because I do understand that. Frontal lobe injuries as well cause lack of motivation. It's when we use the term lazy for people, it's it's a behavior, and that behavior is related to your frontal lobe, your motivation, your planning. It's called executive functioning skills. In other words, the skills that let people understand the task at hand and be able to carry out the task. It's a big thing in the brain. Amanda, how can you? Okay, Blair, it's not as good as people say it is. Well, I think here's the thing, Blair. I think that no matter where we are, there's going to be bad and good. And we need to notice it all. We need to take it all in and we need to process it. But we need to focus on the beauty and the uniqueness of wherever we are. Um, I learned that Under the Bridge is a good place to learn that. So I don't ever want you near a bridge, girl. But that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is, even on the most down days, you can find a spot of color. You can look and find something that can be breathtaking if you really look at it. So I hope that, I don't know what it's like. I don't. So I hope that you see many, many beautiful things. Um, Tatum, I've got anxiety too. Yeah. Uh, yeah, anxiety is a really, really tough one. Um, and I think people sometimes use it too when they're like, I'm anxious. Anxious to be anxious is a normal human trait. To be riddled with anxiety is not. And I know many people with anxiety disorders, and it really affects their life in negative ways. And I cannot stress healthcare, healthcare, healthcare. Please get help for any physical illness, for your physical, for your mental. And if you don't live in an area that offers this or has this, I promise you, I will continue my fight for this. And all I can do is try and educate and be there. Um, yeah, anxiety disorders can be treated. And you know what? Another thing is, I want you guys to look at is called CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, and DBT, which is dialectic behavioral therapy. I've been to cognitive behavioral therapy, and I will tell you right now, it did me a world of good. Oh, wow. That really got me. That was some good therapy. DBT I haven't tried yet, but we may go to that. And there's these things are evidence based and data driven. This isn't we're not anymore, we're not guessing. We know that these things work. There's been proven study after proven study after proven study that there is help, there is treatment, and a lot can be. I'm not saying cure, it's not cured, but you can find ways like executive functioning. Like I have a problem with executive functioning because of the frontal lobe injury. Well, now I have a Google Mini Home and I link my calendar to that. So, and I have my Gmail so I can just push it and it goes. And then I can just say, hey, Google, what are my appointments for today? And Google will be like, blah, 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 blah. Those things help me do what I need to do. So even if I'm ill, I'm finding steps to be able to do stuff. Hi, Gracie. Yeah, it's Tatum. Okay. Gracie, how did I become homeless? Oh, if I prefer not to answer. No, actually, I'm cool with that. Here's the thing. Do you want what I call the catalyst, or do you want to know what the driver was? Because the thing is the chances for someone becoming homeless who was uh, abused, severely abused as a child, are very high. We know that ACEs, which are adverse childhood experiences, are what drive a lot of adult trauma. And it has to do with the behaviors that help you make your choices, understand what the choices are. Um, if you've ever heard somebody say, well, I was raised this way, that way, whatever the next two, I was raised, what they're talking about is their experiences, the way their environment was, what their ideas and everything was shaped by the way they were raised. I think that when we look at that, we understand that there are very different consequences, many different consequences from being raised in trauma versus being raised in a healthy, stable environment. And a lot of that leads to many problems. For me, those things led to attachment disorders, domestic, accepting domestic violence in my life, years of foster care, complex PTSD, suicide after suicide after suicide attempt. Um, I'm scarred from my suicide attempts forever. Brain injuries due to domestic violence and then just accidents, substance abuse, you know, um, after fibro and all of that. And they started prescribing me opioids. 3 years. And I'm like, whoa, this is a problem. And Sheila was the one that pointed that out. And I was like, okay, I got off of them. And then there was the alcohol because marijuana was not even like Louisiana. It was Oh, bye, Tatum. I'm glad you showed up. I appreciate you so much. Hi, Kate. Um, but all of these things and all of as much as I tried to shape my behavior from positive environmental experiences, what I had failed to understand was that the negative ones still had a influence on my behavior and my choices. We don't think of the consequences sometimes that can happen way later. You know, um, when you look at the catalyst of when I became homeless, the first time I was homeless, I ran away from the state of Montana at 15 years old. I went across the United States to California and around and back. And at 16, got enrolled in a program that I could graduate 9 months from. Being homeless already, getting into bad relationships, you know, being a teenage mother, all of these factors to overcome finally had their heyday when I had the brain injuries. It became too much to conquer. And what I hadn't realized is these things were progressively getting worse throughout the years, which are leading to worse and worse behaviors. And there was physiological trauma to my brain when I was young. So I needed the treatment. I had to get treated. And that's the case with most of us. And so homelessness is caused mainly, a lot of it has to do with adverse childhood experiences. And you'll even find that in people who are losing their homes because of, rent issues, jobs or whatever. It is a thing. And the reason for that is because many of us with adverse childhood experiences do not have familiar or societal support. And that's when you fall through the cracks. And that's when you become truly homeless, is when your societal or familial support is really in the same basic condition that you are. And so no one is able to help you. Okay, so I'm going to address some comments. Oh, hi, Samantha. What do you need advice on? I'm going to, it's hot, so I'm going to just kind of, there, stop shaking. It's a bit embarrassing. Okay. Well, then you probably, if it's embarrassing, you probably shouldn't tell it on here. And I'm just, yeah, we're not gonna do that. If you need advice or something like that, you can put stuff in contact me, put it in the messages. Um, so anyhow, is there any other questions that anybody has? And okay. So I hope that I was able to educate some people. Yeah, no, we're not doing that. Just 1 second, guys. I gotta do something here. Uh, all right, hold on. I'm not sure how to do this. And I have to. There we go. Okay. Anyhow, that's all I have to say. And if you have questions about a particular mental illness, please research, get to know, understand. That's all we can do. So anyway, I am sending my love out. Remember, I have the wish list back up. We need the fentanyl we need all the supplies. So whatever you can send, if not, send beautiful messages. And my PayPal is also up there if you want to support. Okay, Blair, bye. Nicolette says bye. She's driving. Bye, Nicolette. I appreciate everybody. Tell your mom bye too. I'll talk to everybody later. You guys have a beautiful, beautiful week. And just sending so much love and positivity because our world needs that right now. Okay, bye.